Yay! Back in Poddyville. Acting like people know that I left. It's like when those people announce that they're leaving Insta, like people are actually gonna notice. Welcome to another ep. It hasn't been a big year for the poddies, but it's been a bigger year for living and applying all the lessons in the flesh. But yeah, it's been pretty transformative, I'll say. I have made a lot of changes in my life. Anyway, it's so good to be back here talking about certain things I've been pondering, actioning, learning about as usual, and just see kind of where we go. And we'll take it away from there. I'm going to start with something that's been very prominent in my life recently, which is the art of doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. I feel like I never understood the merit in that. I was always just kind of like, why wouldn't you just do things you want to do and just craft your life like that? And then I kind of pushed through certain resistance and then found some real gold on the other side of doing things I didn't really want to do. For example, getting a job that isn't working for myself, which was, it's going to sound silly, but it was such a big deal. I'd created a narrative that said that my freedom was going to be taken away from me and that I'd have to be working for somebody else, their own schedule. And I really liked the lifestyle of just fully working for myself, being able to say yes to anything and everything. Funnily enough, taking this job has been freeing in the mind because more consistent income, because photo, video stuff it's great. You get paid good sums, but it's just not very consistent. You never know what you're going to get. So I found that by getting over that fear, shifting the perspective to not be so black and white, just, I guess, trying to craft my life so that I'm feeling even more free, even though there is a little something that I have to tend to every week, which is working for someone else. I found that because I valued lifestyle so much, I was living more week to week with pennies, doing a little vacay here and lots of little camp trips and things like that, but never necessarily fully getting ahead. I get to the end of the week and I really feel like I've done a lot. At the end of doing the thing that I didn't really love doing, I was like, sweet, now I can use this time in a way that I want to use this time, and also just use my time way more, what is the word? Just use my time well, because I feel like before I was kind of resting on my laurels a bit. I would always be doing things, but I would always just be like, I've got time. I don't know. I don't really know what the mentality was. Different to the one I have now. So I found so much merit in doing things I don't want to do. And then what I found on the other side of that is that then when I do have leisure time, gosh, that leisure time tastes way sweeter because I've kind of worked for it. And I think before I was sort of under the impression that you shouldn't really have to work for your time off necessarily, or we all deserve a holiday. But then I was finding that when I was having that time to go away with friends and things like that, I just felt like I hadn't necessarily worked for it, which sort of got to me. I don't know. I didn't think that I'd ever be somebody who was like, do things you don't want to do, but I am now. And yeah, it's been rather fruitful. I guess it's also bigger picture thinking as well, just being like the things I do now, it's just gonna, set me up for a bit later. But I feel like I've always kind of gone towards my goals slowly, but I do feel now, in hindsight, I look back and go, wow, you were really holding yourself back. I'm going to segue this into polarities again because it's a freaking topic. We all possess those two energies within us, the feminine and the masculine. Simply, the feminine is more like the trusting, surrendering, flowing, the creative, things like that, the more intuitive. And the masculine is more the logical. Feminine is just more feeling, a bit more of the unseen, we'll say. So I've been on a bit of a quest to balance my feminine and my masculine, and I've really enjoyed being with a masculine man who also has feminine tendencies as well, which I love, and seeing just how hard he works and also just how hard my brother works. And then sort of being a little bit in awe of them, actually, being at the start maybe a little bit like, why the fuck do they work so hard when, putting your feet up's good, but then also just realizing that it's actually really healthy. It's a healthy outlet, as long as you do put your feet up every now and then, and as long as it's enough. They're more in the realms of doing a few things properly. I'm a little bit more like, I'm going to do 10 things at 20%. Because it keeps me just excited about life in a way. I like to just do a little bit here, do a little bit there, decide I don't really like doing that anymore, pick something else up, see if I like that. And that's just more the way that I roll through life. But they're more dedicated to their craft, which has made me look at certain areas in my life and being like, I'm going to really dedicate more energy to this and just sort of see what happens. So I've found that I've changed a lot in cool ways this year in the realms of, I thought I was disciplined. I've always been like, I'm disciplined, but then I realized that although I'm consistent with certain things, I'm not necessarily someone who will go towards doing my taxes, going to a job I don't really want to do. Just like things like this. I've always just been like a little bit more flowy and feminine, we'll say, a little bit more like the right thing's going to come to me. But I find that if we balance the feminine and the masculine, evidently, actioning things, getting through the list, and then you blend that in with the trust and the faith and the surrender and the flow and the creative, you've really got a recipe for greatness. You feel good that you're doing and putting in the hard work, therefore you're enjoying the journey. You're not like dangling the carrot being like, I'll be happy when, I'll be fulfilled when. You're more just like, I'm putting in the work and I trust in the process. I really see life like this now, deeply, more and more by the day, as everything having two sides, light and dark, feminine and masculine. Like, I see this in my friends. I see their light, I see their darkness. I see this in myself. I see my light, I see my darkness. I see, you know, somebody who's a full-blown workaholic. Like, that is going to get them so far in terms of probably being really financially stable, but also workaholism is like an addiction as well. So if you're not balancing it out, then you're probably screwed in the end, whether that manifests as like health problems or a disconnect in your relationship or something like that. It's like if you're not really balancing things out, then yeah, you probably get tripped up. There's always going to be times where you're going harder at something, but as long as you just go with the ebbs and flows, I feel like you're good. You're not always going to be in perfect equilibrium. I'm going to move into triggers because I think definitely something that I've come head to head with a lot this year. I have to not lie here. I've always been a rom-com girl up until like the last year, where I've banned myself from reading romantic books and watching romantic movies because it was just getting me. I just thought that love was just this like a feeling as opposed to being a feeling and a choice. I think they kind of hindered me in a way, and now I'm really seeing love and like the choice of a partner in a different way. And it's a daily choice to firstly choose yourself and to look after yourself and to fill your cup up and to be just, you know, to just have a strong foundation and to have good energy, and then to then be able to share that around and bounce. It's like that concept of two energies coming together to create a third energy. I just feel like if you're looking after yourself and your partner's looking after themselves, then you can create something really magic. But otherwise you fall into these kind of unhealthy dynamics, which it happens in all relationships. You go through moments of connection and just feeling all these heightened emotions, and then you go through moments of disconnect where you're more in your head, you're having a bit more trouble communicating or whatever it may be. But let's go back to triggers, which was the original topic. I'm learning a little bit more about triggers because I've been noticing a bit of rejection myself, which is something that I experienced quite a bit as a kid, or perceived rejection. I don't think I was actually that rejected. I just took it on like that. And it's been showing up in my relationship in ways where I'm not even being rejected, but I just am scanning to be rejected. So when I'm feeling rejected, I've noticed myself feeling triggered. So that's just like my heart racing, my mind going crazy, all of these stories just like this. And I think a lot of the time that's where your average would just react and just say the thing and just put it all on the table like this, which is something that I used to do because I'd be like, I'm feeling this thing, like I better talk about it. But then say this thing, and then afterwards I'd be like, holy shit, I said a lot of things and I'd experienced quite a bit of shame. I feel like when you're triggered, it's like you're generally responding from, depending on how big the trigger is, you're generally responding from a time in childhood where your needs weren't met, or you felt small, or whatever it may be. They say the bigger the emotional reaction, the bigger the trigger, the earlier it happens. So this year I've experienced big pangs of that, and I've felt really proud of my ability to go towards that feeling. So go towards my heart's really racing right now. My head's going out of control, and just to be able to just sit with that. And sometimes it'll go really quickly, and sometimes it'll stay for a few hours, and sometimes it's a couple of days of racing thoughts. But I've found that my ability to sit with it has been a lot more healthy than it has been in the past. Because in the past, I wouldn't really go towards sitting down and being like, what's this trying to teach me? Having more curiosity, like going back to a time when I did feel small as a kid, like just nursing myself through it in a way. Because in the end, we're all just big babies walking around. We're literally all big babies. So yeah, I think once you realize that, you can have more grace for yourself, you can have more grace for others, and you can begin the process or continue the process of regulating yourself, regulating your emotions before reacting from a place of insecurity. I feel as though the best way to find safety in a relationship is to be honest about your shortcomings or the things that you tend to stumble on. Like me, I'll say it is rejection, it is not having my voice heard. I will actively lay that on the table, and then I just decide to work on it from there and decide to just try and not scan for rejection, because if you're scanning, you'll literally find it anywhere. It's like a confirmation bias. We all have them. If you're looking for it, you'll find it. It's been something really cool, this emotional regulation. I feel like emotional regulation for dummies is you'll notice something will happen. You'll feel it somewhere in your body, maybe in your heart, maybe in your throat, maybe just a full body anxious state, maybe the mind's just racing, and maybe it's all the above, and maybe you feel sad, maybe you feel angry, whatever it is, just sit with it, because a lot of the time there's a good chance that if you sit with it and nurse yourself through it, it'll just disappear. But a lot of the time it's trying to teach you something. It's trying to teach you whether your needs aren't being met, or whether you're feeling unheard, or whether you're just responding from a time when you were 3, when something just was amiss, and then you've just held on to it for that amount of time. So I will talk a little bit more on triggers and emotional regulation in the future. I'm still, I guess, a novice at this, but I'm feeling prouder and prouder by the day of my ability to move through things healthily. So watch this space. I also love the concept of viewing your partner as a mirror. So all those really cool things that you see in them, often they are things that you possess, or they're things that you haven't really unlocked within yourself that are kind of lying dormant. And also the negative shit you project also. A lot of the time it's your stuff and not even theirs. So that's kind of an epic concept. Now, when I notice myself throwing a judgment on literally anyone, like we all have thoughts about other people, I would say I'm not necessarily judgmental, but I like to hold people accountable, and if they're doing something that's hindering them, I'm going to try and not shy away from bringing that up so that they can elevate. It's also not my job to police people. So yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit more like, you live your life, I live my life. If you want me to bring this to your awareness, I will. If you don't, all goods. Sometimes you just want your friendships to elevate, or your relationships to elevate. So you got to do the hard thing and have the conversation. And also at the same time, like, be willing to really look at yourself deeply and really just be like, okay, is this a projection? Is this actually me? Because a lot of the time it is. I think what helps in this is if your partner shows up in a way consistently, it just reroutes the way you move through life. So yeah, the more they step in, literally, the better. And the more you just look at your stuff, the more I look at my stuff, the lighter we all move around. I want to talk a little bit about this concept of like, when you know, you know. I think it's like quite a funny one. People will say like, I just knew straight away, I just had this feeling, and things like this. And I feel like that can happen, and you can move through life and being like a couple that doesn't necessarily argue, and you just kind of are a bit seamless, maybe you're kindred spirits, whatever it is. But I find that a healthy relationship is actually filled with deeply hard conversations, just really practicing that communication. I've always been like, I'm an epic communicator, like, wow, I really excel there. But then I got into a relationship and I realized that I've had the biggest tension with speaking up about things because I've been so scared to hurt feelings when my partner, my partner, my boyfriend, aw, my boyfriend is, yeah, he's so willing to like step in for those hard conversations. I've been trying to do a thing where I just say the thing, say it, you know, say it. Words have frequency. Don't fucking blame them, point at them, make them feel less than. Try to use your words in an efficient way, but also say the thing. I find that the more I do that, although super uncomfortable at times, so uncomfortable, and because sometimes I'm fucking so far off, although really uncomfortable, it brings us closer, I think, in the long run. But yeah, it's really early days for us anyway. So it's just still in that getting to know each other realm. And all I know is that relationships take work. They're such a feeling, but also such a daily choice. And yeah, choose your partner well. Choose somebody who you're proud of and someone that you're happy to become more like, because whether you like it or not, the person you choose, you will become like them. And I'm very happy to say that I'm becoming fitter, more confident, more vocal, more myself. A lot of it due to him, a lot of it due to my need to excel in Jenny. But yeah, I find that since meeting him and deciding to choose each other, it's been a roller coaster of many heightened feelings and many just moments of fully just little girl moments. All in all, it's been completely revolutionary and full of evolution. So I can't thank that enough because I've always wanted that. Something I've yearned for deeply since I was young, just a healthy relationship. And I think in my mind, I thought it was going to feel more like a movie, but in the end, why would I want it to feel just like a movie? Because then I probably wouldn't really be growing. And I like how many revelations I'm having literally every week. I like the fact that he's super independent and I am too. It is great. I'm trying to become somebody who enjoys when dark times do arise, because they will, because life fucking goes like this. It goes in cycles, up and down and up and down. I don't know where I was getting at with that, but it's just nice to know that somebody has your back through that. And even if you do feel like they don't, like maybe it's about also just voicing what your needs are, getting really clear on them. It took me a really long time to find out my needs because they kind of kept changing in a way, but I've gotten really clear on what they are, and it's being listened to, just being able to just say the things, calculated of course, because I don't want to fully just blow things up. I want to be a bit careful. In a perfect world, I could just be like, wow, but there's got to be repercussions with words. So I need to be able to say things and sort of mashed potato, just go around in circles a bit and then get to the root. So that's a real big need for me, and just help with emotion. I feel like I'm quite an emotional person, which I am beginning to really love. When I'm feeling just happy or proud of people around me, literally right now, feeling those emotions, I just feel really deeply. Being with somebody who is emotional is just really fucking important to me. Sometimes I almost want him to be more emotional, but then I sit there and I'm like, I've never met someone who's been more kind of emotionally in touch with the pairing of being super consistent and strong in a way. So yeah, it's a good belly. I'm going to hit you with a few things that I've been loving on lately. Lifting heavy weights, fat and protein, low sugar, low carb. Stretching myself. This is a cool one. Before I was just kind of like, I don't want to do that because then I'll feel like this, or I don't want to do that because then I won't get enough sleep. And then just sort of seeing where I can slowly stretch myself more, where I can give more to my friends. I've come from a past of giving, and then being so sapped that I sort of got to a stage where I was like, I don't want to give anything. I'm literally like buggered. But yeah, slowly, since letting go of certain habits that weren't in line, I felt my capacity to give has just been expanding so much, which is interesting because as I was going into study kinesiology, something was telling me that I needed to stop doing certain things so that my capacity would expand. And as I slowly let go of those habits, honestly, like it was tough, but I just knew I needed to do it. It's just like sometimes we like know, you just fucking know. You just sort of don't really listen, or you listen to the louder thoughts instead of the really soft, intuitive ones. That'll take me actually on to like, how do you know whether something is intuition and whether it's your fear speaking? What I found for myself is that when it's fear and when it's like mistrust in the process in the future, my thoughts will be so loud. I'll be anxious. I'll be sleeping less well. I'll just be out of myself. When it's intuition, it's more just had my deep breaths, the hands on the old heart, it's just quiet, it's a certainty. That's just kind of how you differentiate between the two, I find. I find that when things are going rogue and wild in the head, it's just not a good time to make any sort of calls. That's what's been captivating me recently. The art of hard work. Also being a bit of a stinge. I've been vibing that. Like less treats. Less like, I'm going to go to the sauna. I'm going to go get ramen. I've just been like, where can I kind of cut back in my frugal era? I'm in a good era, I can't lie. It's an honest era. Got some good friends around me and just feeling really supported by the big guy up there, or whatever you want to believe in. I don't know why I call him a guy. It's just a feeling of just being watched down upon. I do really feel like once you hit your 30s, just after something switches, I'll leave you with a couple of hot tips. Anything that's really calming. You move around this life and things just get you and this stresses you out, and it's super nice to have certain techniques to move through that and to calm the mind, the body, and the spirit. So that's been, yeah, great again. Moving away from shitty habits creates a lot more space for friends and family and a lot more appreciation. I think I used to smoke and then feel such deep gratitude or a big pang of creativity and like all of these heightened feelings and all of this goodness. I feel like now, since stopping, I'm able to access that just without, which truly warms my heart because it's nice to not have to have an escape. Nice to not have to move out of my current state to move into a different state that is altered with a substance or with something that is actually damaging my brain. I love that very, very much. Yeah, I'm going to round it out here. That was a bit of a ramble. I appreciate anyone who's listening, watching, or along for the ride. Thank you so much.